All right, welcome back. This is stability number 5. And before we get started, I just want to take a brief moment to discuss what that means. There's different ways and different phases of training. And in a stability phase, what it means is that you are supporting your own body weight, your own spine. You're not using the floor with your back against the floor to support your spine. You're not using a bench. You are basically in charge of every aspect. There are a few different exercises that can be classified as the next phase of training, but for the most part, almost every exercise in this series, this idea of training, is you're supporting yourself. So with that being said, I'm going to go into a series of progression exercises based on some of the work that we've done in the past, but a little bit more specific to what I can handle right now, and I hope you guys enjoy. So one of the things you will need is a ball. If you don't have a ball, you can certainly just regress this and go to the ground. But if you have a ball, that'd be fantastic. You'll need a few weights, a few bands for retraction. But really, that's about it. Weights up to 10 pounds, I think, might work just well. And for some of you that are a little bit stronger, if you have 15 to 20 pounds, that might be as heavy as we go. All right, so first exercise, we're going to go into a plank off of a ball. All right. We're not going to do anything different with that plank just yet because we're introducing a very unstable environment, but the principles of the plank stay the same. Lock the legs, squeeze the glutes. We don't want to collapse, right? We want to stay away from the ball. If you need a rest, you can always take a knee, right? And then come back into position. Two, one, and relax. All right, next exercise we're going to do is similar to the bridge. We're going to do a deadlift. We did this before with John, with Hannah, with Ian. I'm going to use a kettlebell. It's not a very heavy kettlebell, all right? It's about 20 pounds or so, but you can absolutely use 2 dumbbells and hold them in front of your body. I'm going to point off to the side. Now, I don't have a lot of flexibility or mobility through my hips and through my hamstrings. So if you can get a little bit lower while keeping a flat back, that's great. But we're going to go for about 12 repetitions. Slight bend in the knees, go down, keeping the butt high. What we don't want to do is squat, right? We want to keep that butt high, have that pulling through the hamstring, and come up, locking all the way through. Smooth and slow on the way down, up with energy. Maybe 3 to 4 seconds on the way down, up with energy. For those of you who have a lot more mobility than I do, or flexibility, I should say, you might be able to get a lot lower. But what we don't want to do is round the back, right? Keep that butt high, flat back. We'll call that 5, 6, down slow, up with energy. No major pauses in this position. Let's go 1 or 2 more. And last one. Good. Now we're going to attack the reverse fly. I'm going to use this mat for protection of my knee on the hardwood. So in the reverse fly, we want to have the opposite leg pointed out. All right, foot's in the air. You don't want the dumbbell to touch the ground. So once it's up, it's up. You're going to have a slight bend. I'm going to angle this a little bit. Opposite leg. You're going to have a slight bend in the elbow. Right? I'm going to go 12 reps. 3. Smooth and controlled. 4. Keeping that shoulder away from the ear. 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, that weight comes down to the ground each time. You're going to have to reset. We want to avoid that. Legs out behind you, weights up in the air, opposite leg. All right. Smooth and controlled. You're not letting gravity win, nor are you jumping the exercise. All right, we're not trying to rock back and forth, right? We don't want to bob, right? We want to keep that smooth, controlled motion where you are in charge of every aspect of that lift. We're going to do 2 more. 1, 2. Good. Crunch position. I'm going to keep my feet on the ground, but toes in the air. Fingertips are at my ears. Smooth and slow. 12 reps. 2, 3. The tendency when you lift is to want to rush through the exercises. You want to feel like you're working hard. I get that. It's very common. Pretty much what we're taught. Let's do 2 more. With everything that we do in our life, work hard, you'll see the reward. And I think with lifting, it often gets misconstrued as, well, the faster I go, the more weight I lift, the harder and the better workout I'm getting. It's very common with running too. The faster I run, the better off I'm going to be. And that's just not the case. We want to, especially when it comes to lifting, use a weight that makes sense for the amount of repetitions that you're looking to be challenged with. For today's video, we're looking for about 12 repetitions for all the exercises. So as you go through your first set, you might find that some of the exercises were a little bit too heavy and you need to come down in weight. Or some of the exercises, the weight you chose was a little bit too light and you need to move up in weight. Well, if you can't move up in weight because you don't have anything heavier, go up to 15, go up to 20 repetitions. It's okay if you get a little bit behind in the video, you can always hit pause and finish out that set and then replay. Right? We want this to take a little bit of time. 45, 50 seconds per set, per exercise. Right? A little bit of break in between. That's more so because I'm still pretty new to lifting in terms of physicality. Locking those legs, squeezing those glutes. We're going to go through this series just 1 more full round. In your plank, we're looking for about 10 to 12 slow breaths through your stomach. If you're shaking, that's okay. Shaking doesn't mean you're weak. Shaking just means you're challenging your central nervous system in a way you haven't done so before. Right? And that's totally fine. We're going to go back to that deadlift, work on those hamstrings. Up tall, always starting at 0. This is going to be 0. Feet are a little bit wider than legs, right? Just a little bit, just to give you a little bit of clearance. Slight bend in the knees, good flat back, right? We don't want to start here, right? Good flat back. Down slow, and then up with energy. That's the tempo for this exercise, this round. 12 reps is great. There's 5. And then down, 2, 3, up. It's okay if it goes a little bit longer, but we don't want to go too much slower. Come down, slow, and control. Just come up with energy. And when you come up, you're coming up because you're squeezing your glutes and pulling with your hamstrings. 2 more reps. Good. All right, reverse fly. That was a good weight for me. I'm going to go back to my angle so I don't hit my foot against the, whatever you call that back there, the armoire, I guess. I don't even know what to call it. But opposite leg, slight bend in the elbow. 2. And again, 12 reps. I'm using an 8-pound dumbbell. And for me, I feel this is an appropriate weight. I could get to 13 or 14. But I do feel like if I try to get to 15, I try to move that weight a little faster than I probably should. So, until I feel a little bit more in control with that weight, because I'm stronger, I'm going to keep using this 8-pound dumbbell. All right. One of the benefits of keeping that leg up in the air is that as we're working one side of our body, we're also working the opposite glute. So it's a compound exercise. All right. Foot stays in the air. Now we're on. This is 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. All right, and now the crunch. And then we'll get into a little bit more total body exercise. So that crunch is a little bit easier for me, which is good compared to last week. So I'm going to keep my feet in the air. And if I need to, I'll regress. I'm going to try to get all 12 reps without pain in my lower back. It's really important that you don't feel pain in your lower back. When you do this, it's also very important you get a good range of motion and you're under control. We don't want to progress something just because it looks sexy. We want to make sure it's appropriate. I'm going to do 4 more, feet on the ground. All right, take a little bit of a breather, then we're going to get into it. So we started off the series with just some basic core exercises. And like many of you, I too am new into the lifting. It had been some time since I really done much exercise at all. I had a little bit of a hernia for a little while, from June into end of January, early February. It was painful, not all the time, but doing these exercises without pain is a really good thing because it lets me know that if I can continue to do that for the next few weeks, I can hopefully progress. It's really important that we don't cause pain. And if you do feel something, that you don't continue to do the exercise or try to muscle through. But as well, I took some time away from running itself. And as I get into running, it's been about 4 or 5 weeks now. On Sunday, just 2 days ago, I was able to run for 8 miles nonstop. It took me a little over an hour, and that was the longest run I have done since I've been back. And I was really happy about it, really excited about it. But I tell you what, my hips are a little bit tight, right? My hamstrings are a little bit sore. It's something foreign to me, as crazy as that sounds. It's just something I haven't done in a while. So for you, if you haven't run for a long time or you're just getting into it, it's okay to be a little sore, a little tight, a little achy from time to time. It doesn't mean you're hurt. It just means it's something new. And or if it's been some time that you've been lifting, or this is your first introduction to lifting, even though it's been a few weeks, as we progress some of these exercises, you can feel a little bit sore. It's not the purpose, but it is natural. All right? So breaks over. We're going to get into the next series. I'm just going to move this ankle just a little bit. All right? That way I don't feel like I'm staring at my knees when I'm doing the work. All right. So next series, I got my little cheat sheet up here on the wall. So we're going to do single leg squat each side. We're going to go a bent over row with one arm and then one arm. We're going to do a chest fly off of the ball. Something, again, a little bit more stability, something that we're supporting our own body weight. If you can't do a chest fly off of the ball, what I'd like you to do instead of doing a chest fly on the ground, I'd like you to flip over and do a push-up. Same tempo, same amount of repetitions, and if you need to go to your knees, absolutely. Then we're going to work on our hips, and then we're going to do a kneeling bicep curl, possibly with a press. So, in this series, if you got some dumbbells, certainly you can grab some dumbbells. I'm going to choose to hold them at my shoulders. Right? We're going to do, when I say single leg squat, it's very common to want to put a lot of weight on this toe, right? Almost on the forefoot. But what I want you to try to do is be able to pick up that foot at any point, right? Very gently. I want 95% of your weight on that straight leg, right? It's going to do 12 reps, right? We're going to try to get down as low as we can. There's 2. And the tempo is not complicated. You'll find that from time to time, you'll put a little bit more weight on that other toe, that foot. So when you do, I want you to catch yourself. There's 4. Well, that's not 4. That's closer to 7. There's 8. I want you to catch yourself and just give yourself a little bit of a reminder to put as much weight on that squatting leg as you can. Last one. All right? Same concept. I'll face the camera. What we don't want is the knee to collapse, right? And if you can hear me breathing, I'm not faking it, guys. I'm brand new into this. My body's shaking. I might not do every exercise perfectly, even though I've done this for a very long time, close to 2 decades. Some great teachers along the way, but anytime you step away from something, you're bound to have some issues. Oh, that was good. All right, bent over row. I want you to use the weights that make the most sense for you. We want to go with a slightly heavier dumbbell. We're going to be in a somewhat single leg squat position. I like to put my hand on my hip. I'm going to bend over, right? And pull, all right? The weight's not behind me, right? It's right underneath, showing you the different angles I'd like you to see. Back stays flat, right? Not hunched. Butt high, chest low. Woo! Losing that balance there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh, yeah. Burning the butt. It's a good arm workout, but burning through the cheeks. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, I'll lose my balance. 11, All right, chest fly. You should be able, it's going to move that so I can see, you should be able to use the same amount of weight in your chest fly as you do for your single arm row. Weight start at the shoulders, hips are up tall, your head is supported, out to the side, and up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the reason why this is a stability exercise is because I'm supporting my own weight. If I were on a bench, the bench would be supporting all of me. I might be able to lift a lot more weight, but I wouldn't be burning as much and utilizing more muscle, like my glutes and my hamstrings. Last rep. Good. All right. Now, we're going to work on the hips a little bit and go into everybody's favorite, the fire hydrant. I'm going to move this back just a little bit, just so we can see. All right. The fire hydrant. You make a triangle, right? We've done this before. Knee is the apex of that triangle. And I'm just going to go with a bent leg, not letting that elbow bend off to the side. Again, 12 reps. Control tempo. Good, 12 reps. We shift over just a little bit. We go right to the other side. 3. It's all right if one knee doesn't have the same flexibility or mobility. 7. We just want to work with the range of motion that we do have. Pain-free. Ooh, I tell you, that burns. All right, so now we have a kneeling curl and press, right? Very simple. Curl and press. Some of the smaller muscle groups. It's a compound motion. There's a lot of ways you can make this more challenging. But summer's coming. Beaches may be open soon. And I gotta work on my guns, impress my wife, who overheard me and is laughing upstairs. I hear that cackling. I'm trying to impress you. I'm not impressing you, I'm only holding 10 pounds. Maybe if I had 12 and a halves. Maybe. That's all right. 10s would be good enough for right now. Getting good work. One thing I like about this motion is that I'm also getting a stretch here. So I'm not just focusing on what's happening with the bicep, right? I'm in this position, but I'm squeezing through here so I get more of a stretch through here. Runners have often neglected mobility and flexibility. It's one of the biggest issues for injuries. So if we can combine some flexibility and mobility as we're working some of the other exercises, why not, right? So that's the round, and we're going to go back into, as I move this just a little bit again, just so we can make sure we have a good camera angle. I'm going to progress the exercises just a little bit, not with reps or with motion, but just adding a little bit more weight. I feel like I'm strong enough that I can do 10 reps with 10 pounds. Or sorry, 12 reps with 10 pounds. If you feel good enough to add more weight, then by all means, add more. I'm just going to angle this a little bit just to remind you to keep that back flat. Elbows end up near the kneecaps, right? But the chest stays away as tall as you can, above the knee. One more rep. Good. Change positions, change legs. Ooh. 6 more, guys. Keeping that weight off of that toe. Two more, I think. Oh. Whew. That's good. All right, bench over row. I didn't feel very stable with that bench over row. Felt like I had to catch myself. So what I'm going to do, I'm still going to go single arm, but I'm going to put myself in a more stable environment. All right. But if you can do a single arm row with a single leg stance, don't let me stop you. Just make sure you're using the opposite leg in front of the arm that you're trying to work. Let's do 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to switch sides. Switch legs if it's appropriate for you. Two more. Good. All right. Chest fly. Yeah, we should be able to use the same weight as your single arm row. Hips are up tall. Out to the side. You don't need to go incredibly low. Elbows slightly lower than your shoulders is more than fine. But if you're on the ball and you're not doing a push-up, but you're on the ball, squeeze those glutes. Pull with your hamstrings. This isn't just a chest exercise, not today. I'm going to do 3 more. Easily lose count when I'm talking. Just telling Heather how good I was at counting and talking, and now I find myself forgetting. 1 more for good measure, I can handle it. All right. Hips. Woo. All right. Oh. All right. So I'm going to go off to the side just to kind of make sure we're not going up, right? We want to go perpendicular to the body. Trying to get that knee to rise to the hip. We don't want that toe pointed out. We want it pointed towards the knee. I know, might be a little bit hard to see with my black shorts. But we want to try to stay perpendicular to the body. You don't want to round, right? Back stays flat, perpendicular. It's very common to raise it up here to think you're coming out high. Nope. Sideways. Sideways without bending the opposite arm. If you're bending, that means you're coming down like this. We don't want that. Shoulders and hips stay the same height. Only thing that's moving right now is I'm rotating off of my hip out to the side. Woo. So now, got the bicep curl. My left knee was down before, so now my right knee is going to be down. Squeezing the glutes, 12 reps. Trying to do my best, for the most part, to keep everything in line with my shoulders. If the weight is too heavy, one of the things you'll see is this kind of rocking back. No, we don't want that, right? We don't want to pull the weight out with our elbows away. The weight ends up on top of the elbows, right? And you move to within your range of motion when you're pressing above the head. Now, if you have a major shoulder issue and you can't go above your head, we do something called scaption. We go up, down, out, off at an angle, right? I've had shoulder surgeries in the past, so I don't have a lot of range of motion. It's okay for most pressing, but if the weight gets too heavy, I can't manage it. Or I find myself compensating, in which I'll press or my elbows will come away. I don't want to do that. I want to compensate. I want to keep everything where it's meant to. But if it gets too heavy, I've got to go out and do what it is we call scaption. Now, the hard part about that is sometimes the bicep curl can handle much more weight than a long lever away from your body. So just manage the best you can. Maybe you're doing bicep curls by itself, and then you do a set of what they call scaption. And that's going off at an angle. It's not going all the way out to the side, right? But just so you can see, it's not in front, it's not out to the side, it's at an angle, right? 45 degrees. So we're gonna do one more set of the single leg squats and all that. I'm sweating. Had a good run earlier today, about 35 minutes. I'm gonna grab my dumbbells. I'm gonna face the camera this time around, make sure my knee isn't collapsing, right? Weak hips. Often, if you get issues here, right? If you get issues here, oftentimes this is a symptom of something happening here or something happening here, right? If we're pivoting in, the issue is not weakness here. Oftentimes, and I'm not a doctor, but oftentimes, the issue is stemming from where you're pivoting off of. Right? We're pivoting right off of the hip. So, looking at yourself in the mirror to make sure that the knee isn't collapsing like that, right? I've got the advantage of the computer screen right now, but if you have a mirror at home, you can make sure that your knee isn't collapsing on itself, whether you're doing a single leg squat or a double leg squat. If you can't control your knees in a double leg squat, you shouldn't be doing a single leg squat. Switch legs. If you can't control your knees with a single leg squat, you shouldn't progress from there. You should master the imbalance first to the best of your ability, within your range of motion, and then progress. See, I'm not ready for the next step. Feel a little shaky. So I need to make sure that I stay safe and not progress too soon. Single arm row. All right. What we don't want to do is come underneath the knee. Keep that weight in front of the knee. And what I mean by that is, do your best to keep the bottom of the dumbbell in front of the knee. So you're pushing it just a little bit in front of your body, perpendicular to the best you can of your chest. All right. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2 more. Whew. Man, that's a challenge. That is a challenge. I know I'm getting a good session when I feel the need towards the end of the rounds to take a little bit more recovery than I was in the beginning. But luckily, I'm filming this thing, so I'm more or less forced to keep somewhat of a tempo. And if you're watching at home, that means you're kind of forced to keep that same cadence of exercise. So you're welcome. Oh, man. Coming across the chest, keeping those hips up tall. I'm going to do 3 more, because I lost count. 1, 2, 3. All right. Woo. Last series for the hips. Moving that ball so it doesn't hit me. Last series for the hips. Palms are down. We're into it. Try to make a good triangle out of those hands. 4, 5. You're going to have slightly more pressure on the palm next to the side that is going up. So I've got a little more pressure on my right palm than I do on my left. And that's to make sure I don't fall off to the opposite side. Three more. Last one. All right, guys. Last set, last exercise. Whew, there goes my hat. Back to the beginning. Smooth and slow. And again, if this became too much weight for you, you can go to the scaption, or you can just do the bicep curls and then do the scaption. Right. So I mentioned I had shoulder surgery, got hurt back in the winter of 2002. And the repair for the surgery was pretty invasive. And even though my shoulder is safe and sound, the surgery, the recovery, drastically reduced my mobility. So there's simply certain positions I'll never be able to get into with my left arm. Right? So my body has a natural compensation for those things because of a structural issue, not because of a weakness. Right? And I was actually stronger than I'd ever been years after that surgery, but that didn't mean that I still had that flexibility or mobility through the joint. Same thing can happen with running. You can be strong in your calves. You can have a good soleus, which is down here. Great hamstrings, great quads. But if your ankle structurally doesn't have mobility, it's going to limit. So there's certain things that we can do to unlock, and that's through therapy, through manual therapy, through chiropractic care. But if there's a major structural issue, there's certain things you're never going to be able to get past. So so your body will naturally compensate for those issues. Some of the best runners in the world, my friend Alfie, who is the US national champion, she's an Olympian with NAZ. She's got some structural issues. If you notice, if you ever watch a video of her running, her knees buckle like crazy. Now, no one's going to tell her that her form is perfect, but it doesn't need to be. She's found a way to work around those imbalances and found a way to use her ability to the best of her ability to work with what she has. And she's the best runner in the country over the marathon. She proved it by winning the US Marathon Championship at the Olympic trials. So you don't need to be perfect in every aspect to find success. We're just trying to find some of those imbalances, work on them, get a little stronger, develop a little bit more power, and hopefully that helps you progress. So guys, thank you for spending the time with me today. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something, and we're going to be progressing into more of a strength series coming up. We're going to do maybe 1 or 2 more stability, so stability from 1 all the way to stability 7 or 8. And then we're going to get moving on to some what we call strength, the next phase of training. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this thus far. Spread the word. Take a photo of yourselves. Share it on social media. The more people we can help, the better off we all are. So thanks again, and stay tuned for more videos.